doing fine. This might take a second to get... Are we good on an angle? Or
Should I scoot like this?
we could, you know...
Should I take my shoes off?
Alter... I don't know if you want to do that.
You have to remember I was on Survivor. So.
I don't know if you want to alter reality more than it is, you know.
I could take my shoes off if you wanted me to.
I know, I'm a short guy. But you don't need to take your shoes off.
Okay.
All right. Well, first of all, congratulations, Holly, for making it to the final 4.
Thank you very much.
Did you surprise yourself?
I actually did. I really surprised myself. Because look at the beginning of my game. I was ready to leave. I got out there. I was very overwhelmed. I was double guessing myself why I was here. I missed my family horribly. You know, the no sleep, the no eating. But after the talk with Jimmy Johnson, I pulled myself together and I just kept going. And there were so many times where I would go to tribal council and I'd have all my stuff packed, thinking, just in case I'm going home, I'm taking my stuff, and I would make it through. So I was surprised at the way I finished.
So is Jimmy Johnson the reason you made it that far? Do you really credit him with that?
At the beginning of the game, I do, because I was ready to leave. I was totally 100%. I had it in my mind that I was done. And when I sat on the log, and we had a very long conversation, he said to me, have you ever quit anything in your life? And I said, never. And he said, what would your children think if you quit? And that just kind of hit me. And I thought, I can't quit. And I remember getting up, walking back to camp, saying sorry to Dan, and admitting what I did about the shoes, and I thought, I need to play this game. I did have a little luck come my way with, picking the blue rock, getting in with the kids, Tyrone winning the challenge, because I feel like the one challenge, at the beginning when Tyrone won, I probably would have gone home if he wouldn't have won that challenge, right after the shoe incident. So I did have a little bit of luck come my way.
Now, you brought up the shoe incident. I just talked to Dan about it. We might as well go there. What exactly happened? You said at the finale you kind of addressed it a little bit. Talk a little bit about that. Because when you're in a game where if you make a move like that, you risk getting voted off. What were you thinking?
I didn't sleep in 3 days. I didn't eat. I almost it was just a weird feeling. I can't explain it. And Dan just got under my skin because he was constantly bragging about how he was recruited for the show and he didn't have to apply, and he has these expensive shoes on. His sweater was $800. He just got under my skin. Jill got under my skin. It was just a real big emotional thing. And after I did it, I was like, what did I just do? That's why I felt like I had to go back and say sorry. But after I got over the hump, then I kept going. But it's just really hard to explain.
Well, it was kind of a unique situation because you needed some motivation from Jimmy Johnson in the beginning, but then you flipped it and became a motivator for other people in your group.
And someone asked me that question. They said, why did you try to convince Purple Kelly and Nayanka to stay? And I said, why did Jimmy Johnson do it for me? And maybe that's just the coaching in both of us. I coach a swim team. And so maybe just the encouragement of that. And I remember how it felt after I didn't quit. And I kept going and I made it that far. There were 11 days left. And I just remember saying to Purple Kelly, wouldn't it be better if you got voted off than to walk off? And I knew that they had to make up their own mind. I could give them advice, just like a normal teenager, and they had to decide at the final what they were going to do.
All right, now let's talk a little bit about that moment when you gave up the reward to go to an incredible moment, watching a movie with, friends from the game, and you gave it up. Mm-hmm. But Nayanka didn't.
I really thought that if I got up and I took the tarp and rice, Nayanka would maybe feel like, you know what, I should do this. I'm going home. I'm going to be eating in 3 hours or how long it's going to be.
Right.
But she didn't. And that was my decision. So was it wrong on her part? Maybe. I really feel that she would have probably left the game maybe in a little bit better terms if she would have done that, saying, well, I got this for you guys, but I'm leaving, but here I'm leaving something behind. But also at that point of the game, I just remember that it was really raining, and our tarp from the fire, it had holes in it, and we hardly had any rice left, and we had 11 days left. And I honestly, my first thought was, we need to eat. We need to have rice, and I'm glad that we got it, or else we wouldn't have made it through. But, Nayanka probably should have taken the initiative to get up and get that stuff.
Okay, now we're kind of at the end of the game. We're toward the end of the game. Let's jump back way at the start. The battle of young versus old was the big twist at the beginning. And if you look at the battle of young versus old, you won the battle of the old, I guess, because you were the last of the 40 and over standing.
I was.
How does that make you feel?
You know, I would have never thought. I didn't feel like I fit in with my tribe right away. And, you know, Jane and I kind of felt that. Jimmy T felt that a little bit. And when I walked off the game and I thought, I was the last woman in the game. I was the last Espada member. It's a fantastic feeling because in episode 2, who would have actually thought it would have been me? But once I got going in the game and I started playing the game, that's when I really kept moving forward. So I was a little shocked, but at the same time, I was glad.
Now, let's take one step further. What happened with Jillian and you early on when you guys were eating food? There was kind of a weird moment where you walked away.
It was the same thing. It was like right the same moment that the shoe incident happened.
Okay.
Within the first 5 days, it was the whole thing was an emotional thing. Like I said, I had a little guilt from being away from my family. I was double guessing myself. You know, even what Jill said upset me. Totally lack of sleep. And she and I, we've got everything worked out and everything's okay.
Now, you spent your wedding anniversary in Nicaragua. What was that like, seeing your husband on the island with you guys for that challenge? What was that like?
Well, I just remember when I got accepted on the show, and that crossed my mind when they said, you know, this is going to be whenever it was going to be, and I said, oh my gosh, that's going to be our 25th wedding anniversary. So when I got to the top 10, I kept thinking, top six, and Charlie could come, top six. That was the best anniversary gift we ever gave each other, because seeing Charlie come running around the corner and then doing the challenge with him and then getting to go on the reward, it was fantastic. And I also think that it made Charlie realize what I was actually doing. You can sit there and you can watch it on television, but with him being right there and seeing how dirty I was and all the bug bites I had and the open sores on my feet, it made him appreciate me a little bit more when I got home.
Now, all the rough adventure you just took, Redemption Island is next season. Would you go back and play again?
Right away, after I got off the game, I was like, I would so do this again. And then I started watching, and I thought, I don't know if I could do that again. I was like, oh my gosh. And now that it's all over, I would go back in a heartbeat. I would definitely 100% do it again.
All right. What's the fan experience been like for you? Because you've met a lot of fans this weekend, including myself. What's it been like for you?
I just cannot express to you the support that I've had from the fans. I've had people, you know, add me on Facebook, and it's been overwhelming, the amount of people. There's some great fans out there, and I appreciate them all, and it's fantastic.
All right. Well, Holly, it's very nice to talk to you. Thank you very much.